Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing, what would happen if you don't comply with the quarantine requirements here in Thailand. And just to preface this, we've gone through this past week. We've dealt with the end of the the suspension of the Thailand pass. We've been dealing with things like this sort of suspension of the test and go initiative for new cases, although folks that are already in the system are going to be brought in. But, a lot going on with this, and essentially the sort of reestablishment of quarantine here in Thailand. And basically, what we're dealing with right now is a situation where quarantine has come back, which has led to a lot of correspondence I've received. People ask, well, what if and I think they're just asking kind of jokingly, but what if I just don't comply with quarantine? And there was a recent article from the Phuket News, that's thephuketnews.com. This is really quite a good article. As I've stated in other videos, I really do enjoy the Phuket News. They're a really good news organization. Oftentimes we don't really get in depth in quoting some of the stuff from the Phuket News, especially on immigration, because Phuket-centric immigration can sometimes be very different than what's going on here in Bangkok. But the article is titled, "Police Search for Infected Tourist Who Left Quarantine Hotel." And the article is very in-depth. There's actually a lot going on in this article. I urge folks who are interested, go ahead and read that article to learn more about what's going on. But long story short, for the purposes of this video, I just want to quote this one excerpt, which really doesn't get to the thrust of the article. The article is actually kind of a compelling read, but this one excerpt I think is useful to our audience. Quoting directly, "Tonglo police have asked the Department of Disease Control to file a complaint against the tourist for failing to abide by disease control measures in violation of the emergency decree. The offense carries a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison and/or fine of 40,000 baht." So again, when asked, what will happen if I don't abide? Well, the offense carries a maximum penalty, 2 years in prison, and/or a fine of 40,000 baht. Now, do I think that they're going around looking to impose these kind of penalties? No, that's not at all what I think they're trying to do. When you read the article, you'll see that. If you read the article, you'll see what's going on here is it's pretty anomalous. It's not going to be what you're going to usually see for folks that are going through quarantine. But yeah, long story short, the violation of the quarantine decree or the emergency decree and the measures associated with quarantine, they can lead to criminal penalties, including prolonged detention as well as a fine. So those who are looking to come to Thailand, if you have any desire to be rebellious or whatever you want to call it in failing to abide by the quarantine provisions, might not be a good idea to do that, because you could be looking at a situation where you find yourself in possibly, a really bad position with respect to criminal penalties here in Thailand.